Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the Red Sox. They're the subject of this video. We're moving on from the Patriots and football, and we're finally going to talk about another sport, one of the other four major sports that I mentioned in the first video on the channel that I would be talking about. This one is about baseball and the Red Sox, since they have made the most recent news besides the Patriots and the draft. This news isn't exactly good news, but it's not terrible news for the Red Sox. So let's jump right into it. Obviously, there's no video if you haven't noticed yet. What I usually use to record my videos is not currently working, so I'm just going to go with audio today. This should be and is hopefully going to be temporary. So let's just jump right into this whole Red Sox talk. So the Red Sox got accused of sign stealing back when they won the World Series in 2018. At the center of all of that was at the team's former manager, Alex Cora. It was his first season in 2018 as the manager of the Boston Red Sox, and they went to the World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they won the World Series in his first season. But unfortunately, with the whole thing going on with the Houston Astros and them being found with sign stealing and banging trash cans and everything, the Red Sox were also dragged into that kind of speculation. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into what the MLB stripped the Red Sox of, their punishment, and what that might hold for the future, and how they're looked upon as a team in general. So Rob Manfred, the commissioner of MLB, and MLB found the Red Sox guilty of the allegations of sign stealing. Finally, it took months and months and months. Obviously, I think possibly the whole coronavirus outbreak may have pushed it back, the findings just a little bit. But in general, this took a lot longer than it probably should have, just based upon what ended up being the punishments, what ended up being taken away. The Red Sox, they ended up losing a second-round pick. Alex Cora, the manager, got suspended for a season, although he was found guilty of being included in what the Astros were accused of. So he didn't get suspended for what was done with the Red Sox. He got suspended for what was done with the Astros. So I guess you can't really include that in the Red Sox punishment, but he's technically the manager, or was the manager of the Red Sox, so that's kind of just put in there with everything else. And when I say everything else, it's really just the second round pick and JT Watkins, the replay operator. He's suspended for 1 year, and I think he's allowed to come back after the 1 year suspension, but when he does come back, he has to wait another year. He's suspended another year from doing his job of replay operator, if he ever gets that job back. So he can rejoin the franchise, he can rejoin the team after a year of being suspended, but he can't have his job back immediately after anyways. So those are the only three things that the Red Sox, those are the only punishments that the Red Sox were given. And again, it's really just two things. It's not even really three things, because again, Alex Cora is getting punished for what he did with the Astros. Their punishment, if you didn't know already, was heavier than what the MLB handed down to the Red Sox, but is still also kind of viewed as as a light punishment from other teams, other fans, and other players from around the league. The Astros got fined $5 million. They lost 2 first-round picks in 2020 and in 2021. They lost 2 second-round picks in 2020 and 2021. And their manager and GM got suspended for a year, just like Alex Cora, but they also got fired, just like Alex Cora. So those were definitely those penalties were definitely heavier than what the Red Sox received, but it still doesn't seem heavy enough for a lot of people on the Astros. I personally think that's probably enough. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of a team. I'm a fan of the Red Sox, and they didn't fall to the Astros like fans like the Yankees did. They're upset. A team like the Yankees, a team like the Dodgers, they lost against the Astros in the middle of all of this, when these allegations and these actions were apparently taking place. So I can't really imagine if how upset those fan bases are, but we as Red Sox fans should definitely be relieved that it didn't come down to something like that, to what the Astros ended up losing. So what I want to talk about, though, is what took so long for MLB to get to this conclusion. Because, like I said, the coronavirus outbreak, it came pretty much in the middle of all this, because this was put out on April 22nd. So it's been a few weeks. But this whole thing really started right when the Astros began getting investigated, and it was between that and when their punishment came out that the Red Sox were going to be investigated. The MLB let everyone know that was the case, and the punishment was most likely going to be handed down, because there were hints thrown out over the past few months that Manfred wasn't done with his investigation. People were saying it wasn't looking good for the Red Sox. There was going to be a punishment, and it just didn't make sense to me. Maybe it made sense to other people, or maybe some people just weren't paying enough attention. They weren't catching on to this was just my feeling, where it just seemed like there was going to be something just as heavy, if not heavier, than what the Astros received, punishment-wise. Because this took longer than the investigation on the Astros. As far as I'm concerned, and from what I remember, this took a lot longer. And it wasn't anywhere near the punishment that the Astros got. As a Red Sox fan, I don't think they did anything really wrong. That could definitely be a part of it. But if MLB felt the same way about that, why did it take so long for such a simple punishment to be handed down? That's the confusing part. There were hits, people were freaking out. Some people, I'm listening to the radio, sports talk shows, sports channels, I'm reading blogs, reports, articles. People were, writers were genuinely concerned that the Red Sox were going to get slammed with a punishment that they might not be able to dig themselves out of for a few years. And it ended up being like a scratch, next to nothing for them. And I just want to know what took so long. There was panic with some people about how the MLB was handling and what they were going to do to the Red Sox. So that's all that really happened with the Red Sox when it comes to their punishment, and it's kind of just being swept away at this point. I mean, I know there's a lot of other things going on in the sports world and the news world where the Red Sox kind of got lucky. This is just getting pushed away, swept under the rug, kind of, because the MLB season doesn't look like it's going to start anytime soon. The other sports leagues, they're not really starting anytime soon. We'll see with the NFL, but maybe this comes back up when the season finally starts for the MLB. But this is just this. it was all this craziness and all this talk about the Red Sox are cheaters and everything like that. And it ended up being like nothing, essentially. So I kind of want to move on to another subject. I think I have enough time for that. I want to talk about the Mookie Betts trade because I know this happened like a long time ago. People are upset about it. They were and they still are, and I'm definitely still upset about it. I haven't really gotten the chance to talk about it, but I definitely want to talk about it right now. The Mookie Betts trade is going to be felt. It's just the ramifications of that trade are going to be felt throughout Boston and for the Red Sox for a few years at least. I know he wanted a lot of years. I know he wanted a lot of money. And who knows if he was worth it or not. Because Mookie, he came up kind of late for a prospect. He changed positions. He started off really hot, though. He kind of just kept going from there. He's an MVP. He helped the team to a World Series. I know he didn't do too great in those playoffs in 2018 when the Red Sox won, but this guy was a future leader and a cornerstone on this team, and I don't think they got enough for him. I know adding in David Price to the deal kind of lowered the value that the Dodgers were receiving when they traded for Mookie Betts. They kind of used the Red Sox used Mookie as a bargaining chip to trade away David Price's crazy big contract that they would have been strapped to for a few more years. But Mookie Betts is not the player that you just throw in basically to get rid of another player's contract. That's not the guy you do that for. The last deal that the Red Sox did something like that with was also with the Dodgers, and it was back when they wanted to dump Carl Crawford's huge contract that they signed him to, and they also had to trade away Adrian Gonzalez and Josh Beckett, who were also making a lot of money, but I think for the most part, at least with Gonzalez, the Red Sox wanted to keep him because he was a solid contributor to the team, and they had been wanting to trade for or sign him for a long time, and they finally got him. So having to dump those guys, it definitely, to me, isn't as big as trading Mookie because I think he's a bigger star at the time right now than those guys were at their time. But, getting rid of that money, it was essential for the team, but you're John Henry and you make a lot of money. So you should be willing to go over the cap, the luxury tax, to keep a guy like Mookie Betts. You should be willing to dip into your pockets in order to keep that guy around. Because now that he's gone, you have fans upset. Even if there aren't games being played, and when they do get played, fans are going to be upset. Your team isn't nearly as competitive as it was. I don't care what anyone says. You take that guy out of your lineup. The Red Sox can still be a wild card playoff team, but they're not a contender now. You take just that one guy, even David Price being gone. You take those guys off your team, and the Red Sox aren't contenders. And the worst part of it is, again, with the whole money thing, you still have guys like Rusney Castillo. I know a lot of you haven't even heard of him, or you haven't heard that name in a long time. This guy they signed from Cuba. Not only can they not sign guys from Cuba for a while because of him, because there's a certain rule where after signing a certain amount of players and spending a certain amount of money on Cuban players that defect from Cuba and come to the United States to play in the MLB, you can't sign more of them after reaching a certain threshold. I know there's some rule changes, but this was years ago, and this strapped the Red Sox. And there's been some really good players that have come out of Cuba, and he for sure was not one of them. He has been a bench player in AAA for the Red Sox, and he's still robbing them. I think it's $12 million, around that $12 to $14 million in that range, and he's just awful. So you have guys like that making money. You paid Chris Sale, who I love, but you had to see what he was capable of before signing him to that deal. They signed him before last season, and it was just a train wreck of a season for him. And they didn't wait like they should have, and it just didn't work out. It blew up in their faces. So it's contracts like that made it so they couldn't retain Mookie. And it's very unfortunate that he had to be a casualty of the Red Sox. They didn't get enough. On top of it, Alex Verdugo, cool. Like, he's a solid player, but he has like a broken bone in his back. And who knows what his ceiling is as a player in general, let alone, they need someone to contribute right away. He's supposed to be both an immediate contributor and a long-term contributor. And they just flat out didn't get enough. He was the top piece in that deal. And if you remember what was going on with that deal at the time, there was another pitcher that they were supposed to get from the Twins in this 3-team deal with the Astros, the Twins, and the Red Sox. I'm sorry, the Dodgers, the Twins, and the Red Sox. And this guy was like overweight. The pitcher was overweight, and he already had Tommy John, so he'd hurt his elbow. So he ended up going to the Dodgers in the 3-team deal, but they had to rework what the Red Sox were going to get. And even then, they really didn't get much more. Jeter Downs, like he can be a solid infielder, I guess. They got another low-level prospect. It's just, it was not enough. With the money that they freed up aside from everything else and the prospects, it just was not enough. The Red Sox did not get enough for Mookie Betts and David Price. And along with that, they don't have the manager that they had the past 2 seasons. They don't have that second-round pick. That's not too much of a big deal when it comes to baseball in general, but it's still nice to have. And a lot of haters are going to jump on, that saying that they're cheaters. So it's not right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Red Sox fan. I love baseball. Baseball's in my blood. It was my number one sport growing up. It probably still is, realistically. I love baseball. I know, it's not exactly everyone's favorite sport anymore, but I still love it. I know a lot of people still do love it, but the Red Sox are honestly probably number 4 on the rankings of the 4 major sports, the teams right now, when it comes to, the Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins, because the other 3 teams, although the Patriots lost Tom Brady, their future still seems brighter than the Red Sox does. At least, I don't know about immediate, but even then it could still be, their immediate success can still be higher than the Red Sox, just because you trade a guy like Mookie Betts, you lose a guy as your manager like Alex Cora, people are losing faith in ownership. It's just a mess right now, and I'm hoping that they can turn it around, but it's not looking too good. And if you agree, let me know down in the comments, because I know a lot of people have been wanting to talk about the Red Sox, and they just haven't gotten the chance because of circumstances and everything that's been going on in the world. So let me know. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to try to get the video back, hopefully within the next couple of posts. I'm not sure. I can't promise the next video or even the one after that will have actual video in it. It might still just be audio, but bear with me. If you like this video, if you like this channel, please like and subscribe. Put on alerts. I want to thank everyone again for all the support. I know a lot of my friends and my family, they've liked and they've subscribed and they've been watching my videos, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.